Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Studio Insights. Studio Insights is an opportunity for us as a team to learn from each other, grow our skills, and talk about what we've been working on so we can share that inspiration with you, our community. So in the Studio Insights, we've got Victoria and myself, Hannah. Do you want to ask the first question, Victoria?
Yes. So I want to know, this week you developed a template and it's for trainers to use when they deliver their training. So I wanted to find out from you what strategies you use to create that.
Okay. So yeah, that was cool. So just to give some context for everyone listening, what we were doing with that template is we were adjusting it in a way so that it was learner and facilitator centric. So we wanted it to be learning that was designed well with the learner at the heart of the solution. So any learning designer who picked up that template would be able to design it in a way that met the needs of the learner and gave them a good learning experience. And then we also had parts in there for the facilitator. So there was a learning designer, and then separately there was a facilitator who would pick up the template and use that to deliver the training. So they were like the two roles that we were wanting to help through creating that template. So I guess some of the things that we did was at the beginning of the learning solution, we always get our learners to understand the why. So we want them to understand why the learning experience will add value to their life, because if you don't get them in that very initial part of the training, they're unlikely to want to participate because they're not going to know like why it's worth their time, why it's worth them concentrating. So as part of the template, we wanted to have a screen that got the learning designer to share with the learners why that specific learning solution added value to them. And we made sure that it was focused on the learner and not, for example, the organization. So I think a lot of training solutions, it'll start off by saying like, it'll help our business make more money, it'll help our business be more effective. But what we do through our solutions is we really focus on like, how is it going to help the individuals in the room rather than about the business? Because a lot of people, they do care about the business, but they're not like, oh, I'm so engaged now, motivated because it's going to do this for the business. It's better if it's like, oh, it's going to help me with my day-to-day work. So that was a core part of the template. Other things was just making sure whatever was on the screens added value to the learner. So I think a lot of the time with training, we can put information on the screen that doesn't actually add value to the learner. And it might be like a prompt for the facilitator so they remember to talk about something, or it could just be information that has to be covered in the course. But what we did through the template was we got learning designers to think about, would this information on screen actually help the learner change their behavior in the real world and help them meet the learning objectives? And they took a photo of that screen and looked at it, say 2 weeks after the training, would it still add value to them? And if it would, and it's just like information for the sake of it or because it needs to be added, then we made sure that it was done in a way where either it wasn't put on the screen or it was explained in a way that added value to the learners and helped them do something differently. So that was another part of it. What else do we have? We also did, so for example, you might have gone to a training course before and they'll show like a video or talk about a case study. And then after that, you answer questions about it. So it might be like, what should Ben do in this situation? Or what would have been the best way to run that meeting or something like that. So rather than just questions where it was like talking about whatever was happening in the video, we wanted to relate what was happening in the video to the learner's experience. So we made sure the questions were like, given what you've seen in the video, how would that look in your context, or what would you do to really like fit into the world of the learners, and it wasn't just like a generic thing.
Yeah.
We also got them to consider using the Hemingway editor. So I'll put it in the description for anyone who's watching, but it's a really great way to simplify your writing. So it like really cuts it down and makes sure that you get to the point with what you write on screen. So you like paste your writing into it, and then it'll tell you like that word isn't necessary. You can take that out. This word's too hard to read, or this sentence is too hard to read. Simplify it. So that is really useful as well when you're creating a training resource. then for the facilitator, we just wanted to like really be clear on what they needed to do. So I know we've done like other facilitator guides before that you would know about, Vic, where it's like, what do they say, what do they do on each screen? So it might be like, play the video, say this. And you don't have to be super specific because you want the facilitator to like incorporate their personality, but just to like have them be aware of exactly what needs to happen on each screen, and it makes their life easier. Like the training course, whoever it's delivered by, it's pretty consistent because every facilitator is doing and saying the same thing, adding their personality to it. So that was another thing. I think they were the main things that I can think of. But just it's really like our team all about putting the learner at the heart of the solution, or whoever is going to be using the resource. So for example, the facilitator and the learner, we made sure that everything we incorporated in that template was for them and added value to it. If it didn't, we left it out. So yeah, it was a cool project. Like I think it's going to add a lot of value to that client and the training that they deliver, just putting that like and facilitator centric lens over it. So yeah,
that's cool. I feel like it's good to like look at it from both perspectives, because like usually you would, if you're just like training certain content, you kind of just think like they need to know this, and this. But like depending on who, like whether it's facilitator or the learner, like depending on who's actually delivering it or receiving like that training, like you do need to make sure that they're both like equally motivated, I guess. Like you want the facilitator to be like passionate about it, understand everything they're talking about, and just like know exactly like what they need to do in the moment. So I feel like that's really cool. I'd be keen to see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see how it ends up. Like it's the first stage of it, but it'd be cool to see like, once the client looks at it and we do a little bit more work on it, how it turns out.
Yeah.
Oh, good question. All right, you ready for your question?
Yes.
So my question is, so recently we've been discussing choosing the right tool for a project. So by that I mean, like, are we going to develop the videos in Adobe Premiere, or are we going to develop the e-learning course in Storyline, or are we going to use Rise? So I just wanted to know, because we have had lessons on that, what advice would you have for other learning designers who are like in the process of selecting the right tool for the solution they're about to create?
Well, I guess when it comes to like Storyline and Rise, like generally, if we're making like a module, like we'll get some direction from the client that usually helps us decide like what would be best for what they need. But I guess you've just got to consider like what is the learning that you're delivering, and then like figure out like what the key features are, I guess, and then use that to figure out like what tool has the best assets or whatever that you can use. Like for Rise, for example, I feel like that's sometimes better if it's going to be like micro learning, or it's going to be something that they're like the learner might be jumping in and out of, because it's easy to see like this is everything in the course. You can split it up by like different sections or whatever, and they can just jump in and see what they need. Whereas Storyline generally, unless you make like a hub or something, it's like you're going to go through the whole course. It's not as easy to just like jump in and out of if you need to find things. And I don't know, I guess like it does just depend once you have an idea of like what the learning is going to look like, you kind of need to look, like do some research on different tools and see like what's recommended for whatever like you're trying to achieve. But I guess like taking the time to actually have that as a decision you make, and not just sticking with what you're comfortable with or what you've used before. Because I know that like especially with videos, for example, like I'm comfortable using Beyond to create animations, but like Adobe Premiere, I haven't really used that much. I don't know like that much about how to use it, but there are instances where that could be easier to use than Beyond, but I just need to like set that time aside to learn something new, because if it's going to like have a better outcome for the learner, then you kind of need to put your own like limitations aside, I guess. And I guess like giving yourself the time to do that research or to like learn a new tool, and not just think this is the only thing I know, this is the only thing I'm comfortable with, like this is going to be the best because it's the best like for me. when it's not like I'm not the one who's going to be doing the training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like giving yourself permission to research, like watch tutorials on YouTube and that kind of thing, like just give yourself the time to play around a bit and figure it out that way instead of just like sticking to something from the beginning just because you've got like your own biases, I guess, about what you think's best. Like just take the time to do all of that first.
Worth like taking the time to research, and even though you might think like I don't have time, I'm like wasting time, like I think if you do that and like really test and look up like what are your options, it can make such a big difference to the rest of the project.
Yeah, and because you can like it might seem like a lot of time initially, but if you're trying to make the wrong tool work, you're going to spend more time doing that than you would learning something else. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It can be like tricky, and it is like scary sometimes to think like I'm going to do this project in something I've never used before, because obviously you still want to make like the best solution you can, and it's harder to think this is going to be really good if you're like I've never used this before, but like you can learn anything really. And you can learn a lot of stuff for free too, like YouTube. Most of the stuff I've learned has been like from YouTube tutorials, like they have videos for everything. So or forums, like there's a lot of opportunity out there to learn new skills. So I feel like you may as well do that if you can, and if it's going to like benefit the learner and the solution more, just consider that, I guess.
Definitely. And it's good to add like to your toolkit as well. Like if you different program and you learn more about it, like I think that's so good, because it like create learning solutions. When you're speaking to clients, you can have like so many different tools that you've used in your head. Be like, right, this tool's good for that, this tool's good for that. So it's almost like building like a toolbox that you can share with the client.
And I feel like we've found as well, like there doesn't seem to be one video editing tool or one like or e-learning authoring tool that has everything. Like there seems to be like a lot of similarities across them, but there's like certain features you can only get in some things. So you don't want to like miss out on ever being able to use that just because you don't know that specific tool right now, when it could have like one feature that's going to be the perfect thing for what you want to create.
Very good. Another thing I thought, like we've got our Facebook group, so I think that's a good space to ask, because like we've obviously learned what tools work for certain things recently, and some we won't use for that now, and we'll use another tool. Like we use Adobe Premiere a lot more than what we used to now. Realize it can do things that other tools can't. So I think like even just asking in the Facebook group, hey, like I've got this solution, like what tools do you getting like everyone's experience in there so you can learn from others as well, I think is quite cool. We share like what we've found has worked and in the group.
I guess another thing to do that you can do as well if you're trying to decide which tool you want to use is like looking at inspiration from like what other people have created in that tool, because you don't always know from just looking. Like if I just go into Storyline and like play around with things, you don't like necessarily know what's possible. But if you look on like the Storyline challenges or that kind of thing, like the people, like some of the stuff that people create, I would never think like you can do that in Storyline. So like looking at things like that and seeing if you really like if you see an interaction or something that you really like, and it's exactly what you want the solution to end up being like, you can find like that can help you decide which tool to use once you know that it's definitely possible, even if you don't necessarily don't know how to do it yet. People have done it, so like you can learn that as well.
That's really good. I love that. So I'll put that in the description. So the e-learning challenges, articulate. They're really good.
Like that.
So is there anywhere else I'm thinking where we look at what's possible? Maybe like YouTube, people would share things, or like they're probably the main ones. But that's a really good idea. I love that. Very cool. All right, is there anything else you'd like to add on that?
No, I think that is all I can think of right now.
All right, well, thank you everyone for tuning in and joining us for this Studio Insights. Check out our Creator Hub. We have so many resources on there that will add so much value to you as a learning designer. So check out the Creator Hub. It's in the description, and every resource that we've spoken about in this episode is also in the description. And thanks for watching.
What's up, awesome human? Thank you, thank you, thank you on behalf of myself and the Belvista Studios team for continuously choosing to learn with us. We really appreciate it. If the tips and the insights and the context resonate with you and you want to take your skills to the next level, or you want to make your life way easier, you will love our Creator Hub. The Creator Hub is a place for people like you and us. Basically, it's the stuff that we use internally at Belvista Studios, and then we just share it publicly with you. The Creator Hub is created by instructional designers for instructional designers, and what you'll love there at the moment is we've got a quiz, Could I Be a Better Instructional Designer, that has so much tips in the feedback if you're interested in human-centered design or just taking your skills to the next level in terms of the solutions you're creating, the problems you want to solve. But in there as well, aren't we cute? That's us. But we've got the coaching courses, freebies, give us gratitude, and also we've got some templates. And basically they're always around the lens of learning experience design, instructional design, and e-learning. So a human-centered design focus is very much what we're about at Belvista Studios. So putting your learners at the heart of a solution and creating something for their needs. So there's the human-centered design stuff, and then we've also got the business stuff. So this is the stuff they don't teach you about when you want to become a freelancer or a consultant in the instructional design world. So go check it out. The link is in the description. You can check out everything that is available for you. Thank you for choosing to learn with us. Continuously invest in your skills. You will be rewarded as an instructional designer. Share this stuff, share it with other people, because when we are better instructional designers, we create better solutions that create better humans, that create a better world. So we have a very important role, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Have an awesome day.